Hi, Grandma here, continuing with The Door in the Wall, Chapter 9. I read halfway through, and just to review, Robin has left the castle and is going to try to get to John in the Wind's mother's cottage to let him know that the Welsh have invaded the village, and the castle is under siege, which means they have no supplies coming in and out, and they are low on water. So it's a very dangerous situation. To review with you, looking at this picture, Robin has gotten out of the castle and through a door in the wall that surrounds the castle, and he has gone down a very steep slope, just as you see here, to a river, and has crossed a river. And where we stopped was the fog was parting, and a very fierce and scowling head of a man appeared and asked who he was. And he said, "I'm Robin." And he said, "Robin who?" And he said, "Robin Crookshanks," which of course is the name that someone gave him because he was lame. He couldn't walk. The guard drew near where he could see the boy. "Ah," he said, "art thou but a shepherd boy then?" he asked, seeing Robin's poor clothes, "and hast fallen into the river. Come then, lad, and warm thyself by the fire. Be not frightened, we'll not hurt thee." He took Robin's arm and tried to draw him toward the camp, which now Robin could see just at the side of the field, for now the fog was fast disappearing. But Robin held back and shook his head, trying to think what he must say and how he must speak. "Nay," he began, trying to appear stupid, "'tis not far to the cottage." He edged away, bobbing his thanks, and went on as fast as he dared up the other side of the field and through the hedgerow. He did not stop until he was well beyond earshot of the men in the camp, then stood only for a moment to draw long, steadying breaths. He chuckled at the way he had fooled the Welshman. From that point on, the path led through a wood, downward through the valley of a stream, which joined the one surrounding the castle. There were no cottages near at hand, but across the stream and beyond a low-lying field and a rising slope, Robin could see that the wood that extended to the edge of the village where the church tower stood. The sky now was filled with fast-flying clouds, and the fog was gone. The stream was shallow enough for Robin to go across on foot, and the little wetting he got was nothing after swimming the river. The wood behind him hid Robin from the camp in the field, for which he was thankful, because the rising ground slowed his going, and he felt as if he were a fair target for arrows. It seemed as if he would never come to the top of the field and the hedgerow separating it from the forest beyond. When he reached the shelter of the great trees, Robin sank down into a bed of bracken to rest. He was very tired. When breathing was easier and the pain of effort but a dull ache, Robin rose to go on. How much further had he to go? Would John be there when he arrived? Would he be able to get help in time? Even through the forest, the path was well marked because it was one that had been used for centuries. The peasants went over it to and from the villages to gather wood or to pasture the sheep. In about an hour, the forest began to thin, and Robin could see blue smoke coming from the cotter's chimney pots. Which cottage belonged to John's mother? Robin remembered that John had said it was on the heath and near the church. He could see such a cottage from where he stood, so he made his way toward it hopefully. It was so exciting to be within sight of help that Robin forgot he was tired and hungry. He forgot he was still cold from his dousing in the river and the fright he'd had. He began to cut across the heath toward the cottage, but had not gone far when John himself came out the door. Robin stopped. "John!" he called at the top of his voice. "John! John, go in the wind!" John heard him and looked his way and then came running. "Master Robin," he exclaimed, "what's amiss? How come thou here?" Without waiting for an answer, he grasped Robin's crutches and swept him up into his arms, because he could see that Robin had come as far as he was able. It had been Robin's plan to issue orders as his father might have done, to have been lordly and commanding. But it was such a relief to be cared for and to have the weight of his body taken from his aching armpits that he allowed John to carry him, and said not a word until he was laid upon the straw pallet. An old woman stood by the fire stirring something in a pot. And there's a picture there. She looked at Robin but didn't speak. A cat mewed and coaxed her, rubbing against her skirts. "The castle is in danger," said Robin at once. "The Welsh have taken the town and are at the gates of the outer bailey. The food is giving out. The water is low in the well. You must get help, and you must get it soon." "But how came thou here?" said John, amazed. "How didst escape the sentry?" John was already putting on his hood and fastening his leather jerkin. He went on without waiting. "Knowest what force the Welsh have?" "No," said Robin. "The fog has kept us from seeing, but whenever we tried to make a sally into town, we were forced back. I shall be gone straight away. Stay thou here for safety and to rest." John Go-in-the-Wind was well named, for go he did, closing the door behind him almost before he'd finished speaking. Robin sighed. It was good to be able to rest. "Come now," said the woman as she took off Robin's clothes to dry them. "Thou'lt be famished with hunger. I'll bake thee a bannock." As tired as he was, Robin grinned. She went to the cupboard, took out a flat cake, which she put on a hot stone to bake. Well, that kind of sounds a little bit like a pancake, doesn't it? A flat cake baking on a hot stone. So maybe that's what a bannock is. Robin slept after the woman fed him and didn't wake until the sun was low in the west. The sound of the door opening was what really woke him. It was John. Robin was up on his elbow in a second. "Did you not go there?" he asked in bewilderment. Then he realized he had slept, and it was late in the day. "Did you find help then?" "Yes, already they are well on their way from my Lord Hugh Fitzhugh's castle," said John. "A large force of foot soldiers, a company of lancers go by the Drovers' Road, one company by the way through the wood and field, and another going around to attack from the other side of the town by way of Leatham Bridge." So it's what they call a three-pronged attack. 3 different groups are going to surround the Welsh. "It hath been agreed that we shall give the signal from the bell tower of the church. There are no better bowmen in England. The siege will be lifted. Thou'lt see." "I want to see it," declared Robin. "I want to see it all." "See it thou shalt," promised John. "Now, mother, serve forth yon porridge, for I have not broken my fast this day." And remember, to break a fast is the same thing as breakfast, so he hasn't eaten at all. The mother bustled about, putting the porridge into a bowl for all to dip into, and drawing a bench up to the table. John laid out the little harp, put bread into his pouch, and stuck a knife in his belt. "I am no warrior," he said to Robin. "I am but a messenger and a minstrel. But who knows? I might find myself close to the enemy, closer than I would like," that he added with a shrug. The meal was soon over, and they made ready to start. "Think you I can go so far again this day?" asked Robin anxiously. "Thou hast no need to think of that," John assured him. "I can carry thee right well, as the good friar did. The harp and the crutches we shall strap on so they will not cumber us." He fastened the crutches to his side and the harp around Robin's neck, so it hung down his back. Soon thou'lt be carrying thine own harp, God willing. Fare thee well, old mother, said John, embracing her. Up now, young master, he said to Robin, and with that they left the cottage and went on their way. How shall we go? Asked Robin, as John strode the path on the way out of the village. Shall we go the way I came, or by the way of Leatham Bridge? Neither, answered John Go-in-the-Wind. I know still another way. I know a path leading through the forest to the southeast. It goeth past the priory, where we shall ford the river. We can come at the town easily from there. Then we can wait for nightfall, and indeed it will be nightfall ere we arrive, but there will be a moon. We shall creep along the river under cover of the reeds and willows, and enter the town through the shoemaker's house, which is on the wall. He is known to me, and we have a signal between us. He knoweth the sound of my harp, and the certain tune I play will tell him we have need of him. From there it is quite simple to get into the graveyard of the church, and thence into the church itself, and into the tower. There we shall see all and hear all if we are not deafened by the bells. What an adventure to tell my father, said Robin. Although he carried Robin, John trotted along at a good speed, for he knew every curve in the path. It was only a short way to the ford in the river, near the priory, and from there across the fields covered with grazing sheep to the forest. There they rested. When they reached the top of the hill beyond, John pointed out the drover's road far below. There, glints of light on lance and pennant, helmet, and moving figures showed Robin the fast-moving company of soldiers. Because it was nearly dusk and supper time, blue smoke rose from every chimney pot in the village they had left, and in the low places mist began to rise. We must make haste, said John, lifting Robin again to his back, or we shall be too late. When they had to cross open country again, John kept to the hedgerows so they would not be seen. And as they came near to Lindsay, he kept well away from every barn and every outbuilding. For aught we know, the Welsh may be encamped out here on the side of the castle as well as the other side, he explained. They might question even a minstrel such as I. 'Tis safer for our skins to go softly. By the time they reached the place where the drover's road led, John halted before crossing the road to observe the sentry. They waited for the sound of his footsteps to die away around the town. The moon was high, and by keeping well in the shadow of a tree, they were able to cross the road without being seen. Ah, said John with a sigh of relief, so far we have come safely. Soon Sir Hugh's men will encircle the town. By then we shall be in the church tower to give the signal for the attack. We have not seen the enemy on this side of the town, whispered Robin hopefully. No, agreed John, because they have taken the town and will be inside the walls. There is more need of outposts to the south and west where the two bridges are, and where the roads leading from them are well traveled. The Welsh will reason that there is little likelihood of danger from this road because it is well known that Sir Peter and his cousin Sir Hugh are not on friendly terms. Sir Peter is for the king, and Sir Hugh is not. But they are all of one family and were once like brothers. I had little difficulty in persuading him, Sir Hugh. Perhaps they will be friends from now on, said Robin. Perhaps Sir Hugh will be one for the king. It may be, John nodded. Most of the lords in this part of the country are for keeping their lands to themselves. But times are changing and we have a good king. Hark, whispered Robin again. All is still. The sentry is at the far end of the walk. Shall we go then? Aye, 'tis time, said John. Hast the little harp safe? 'Tis safe, said Robin, grasping John about the neck and getting himself settled on his back. They crept forward again, shielded by the darkness and making their way along a narrow path that followed the wall. until the rising ground told John they were near to the shoemaker's cottage. There again they halted to make sure no sentry was about. John, letting Robin slip to the ground, fitted the crutches under his arms and took the harp from around his neck. The tune he played was mournful and slow, but it must have reached the ears of the shoemaker. John was just beginning to play it for the third time when there was an answer, and it was in the form of a bagpipe jig. Robin could see John bobbing his head up and down happily because his playing had brought forth the right response. There followed another period of waiting while the sentry passed again on the wall. They scarcely breathed until they had turned again and was going the other way. By counting his steps, they knew when he was far enough away for them to act. Then, without warning, a sort of chair was let down from a window high on the wall. John fastened Robin into it and gave the rope a jerk. Robin was hauled aloft so quickly that he had no time to think what he should do or what he should say. He found himself being lifted inside the upper room of a small house and the window drawn to. He faced a little man who cautioned him to silence, while again they waited for the sentry to come and go. And here is a picture. I don't know if you could see, it's kind of a dark picture. Right here, you can see Robin going up in the chair up here, that the wall is so high that you either go through the door in the wall or you have somebody that has a chair that can be lowered down to you. There was no light in the room except the moonlight that came in through the window. This is really exciting, thought Robin. He wished that John had been able to come into the house with him. He heard the tramp of the sentry and the thudding of the pike staff as it struck the stone where the sentry turned at the wall of the house. The sound lessened, and once more the rope was lowered. This time it was for John. Robin could see the iron wheel under the window, which turned like a windlass to let out the rope. In a moment, John stood in the room with him. The rope and iron wheel were stored in an innocent-looking chest. The shoemaker quickly lifted the wheel out of the strong wooden block which held it, covered with flat board and cloth. The shoemaker motioned for Robin and John to follow him down the steep stair that leading to the house below. And that's the end of chapter 9. So we know that they are on their way to the church where they're going to ring the bells, which is going to begin the battle. So chapter 10, I think we're going to have a battle. Okay, bye-bye.